What's going on, everybody? Matt's Geek Corner here again with another episode. This is a new series that I'm trying out where I talk about games that I've played in like a recap sort of way. Kind of like a review, but not with your typical 1 to 10 scale or 1 out of 100 scale. This is more of a review of me giving my first impressions versus my final impressions of games that I've played. And I wanted to start with Days Gone simply because this is a game that I had very negative opinions and impressions on when I first started it versus when I jumped back into it after taking a hiatus and having nothing but positive reactions and opinions on the game at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the story. I won't go into too many spoilers just because I don't want to ruin it for anybody who might not have played the game yet. So let's go ahead and start talking about the story. So the story starts off similar to The Last of Us. It starts off in a outbreak, but the outbreak has already pretty much started. It's not like The Last of Us where it leads into it. It's happening right then and there. And you're trying to get out of the city. You play as a character named Deacon St. John. You're trying to get out with his wife, Sarah, and his friend Boozer, who is also part of Deacon's former biker gang. And you find out Sarah's been injured. You don't know if she's been bitten or what. And then you find out a few minutes later she's actually just been stabbed by somebody, and they're trying to get her to medical help, which is the Nero division, basically their quarantine of the video game. And they get her to a helicopter, and this guy says, I only have enough room for one person, so all three of you are not going to fit. They decide to put her on the helicopter. He says he's going to find her later, and that's pretty much it for the opening cutscene. And then you get a little subtitle that says 2 years later, so that's how long he's been looking for her. And pretty much story goes from there. You find other encampments, a couple people turn on you here and there, lots of twists and turns, some that I was not expecting, some that I kind of was expecting, but a lot of twists and turns. And then at the very end of the game, there is a true ending after you finish the epilogue, and that was a oh my god moment that I was not expecting. So that's something to look forward to if you are going to play the game. Once you beat it, do the epilogue missions. There's probably maybe 5 of them, and then you get a call on the radio to meet somebody at a certain location, and then that's when you find out the true ending, which is pretty cool. So that about sums it up for the story. Like I said, I didn't want to spoil it too much. And right now we're going to go ahead and get into the bad stuff that I thought of the game, the negative stuff. Okay, so here we go with the negative and the bad. Where do I begin? I guess I'll start with the glitches. There were numerous glitches that I encountered while playing this game. 2 that I remember in particular were one where I was riding my motorcycle and I don't know what happened, but I fell off the bike through the ground into the abyss of the game map and died. I have no idea what happened there, but it happened and I was just confused. Another glitch that I noticed was actually more funny than anything. I was riding the motorcycle through the game map and I hit a deer, and that deer went flying across the map, and I'm just sitting here going, okay, how did that happen? I laughed, but I'm not quite sure how that happened. So those were the 2 that I remember the most. Another issue I had with it was the amount of updates that this game had, and a lot of it was to fix the glitches and the game crashing, because I did experience game crashes a lot, and it seemed like every time I put the game in, it would start updating, and there was a new patch pretty much every day I put it in. And so it just made me want to stop playing, and I'm not kidding. I stopped playing for a good 6 months. And another reason I stopped playing was because I was confused by the storyline and how that worked. Now, normally in games like Horizon or Assassin's Creed, they will have an option that says, here are your main missions, here are your side missions, here are your miscellaneous missions, just the random jobs here and there. This, I didn't notice it at first. It does say here's your side mission, here's your story mission, here's your just random stuff here and there. I didn't quite know which one was which at first, and when I would complete a mission, it would just say, hey, you've completed 10% of this mission. And I thought, okay, well, where's the other 90% of it? Because I did a lot. I got everything that was in there. I thought, okay, it's like Assassin's Creed, where if you don't get everything inside of a memory, you don't get full synchronization. So I got a little confused by that. And that was another reason I was just like, you know what, this story's confusing me. I don't know what's going on right now. I'm confused. This story's over here, this mission's over here, and I'm not going to find out the end of it or the conclusion until I do these 5 missions over here 5 hours later in game. So it just made me want to stop. And so, like I said, I did for a few months, and eventually came back to it, and that's where the good comes in. So let's go ahead and talk about the good side of the game. Okay, so let's get on with the good part. As I said before, I initially stopped playing this because of all the negative stuff that I encountered in the game or with the updates and everything. So I had some friends who were asking me how I was enjoying Days Gone, and I said, well, not really. I'm not enjoying it. I don't like how the story runs. I don't like just a lot of stuff with the game, too many glitches. And they said, well, you should probably go back into it because they have fixed the game. They've patched it up to where there's no more glitches, there's no more game crashing, all of that's gone, and there's a spot in the story where something happens that you're going to like it more, and the game will get better after that. And one of those spots they were talking about was the fact that one of the characters turns on you, and the story just gets really, really interesting after that. And then you find out some more stuff that's going on in the story that makes you just sit there and say, oh man, I have to keep going and get through this game to the end. And really another reason, and I'm going to say this was probably the final reason I decided to jump back into the game, was because I saw a thumbnail that kind of spoiled the ending, multiple sections of the game. Multiple videos spoiled the game for me, and I'm just sitting there going, okay, now I know what happens. I need to jump in and find out how it happens. And so it just made me want to go through to the end and see the game through to the end. But also, I really enjoyed the gameplay when I first started the game, and it really made me want to just keep playing it. I liked the motorcycle. It reminded me of Red Dead, but without a horse and a motorcycle instead. I liked the concept of having to refuel your bike if it runs out of gas. And it made it kind of a challenge, because if you were nowhere near a gas station, you were kind of screwed. You had to either find some gas somewhere in an abandoned car, or you had to wheel your bike to the nearest gas station, because fast travel does not work like it normally does. It consumes your fuel, and if your fuel levels are too low, you can't fast travel to a camp that's too far away. It'll tell you, hey, you're not going to make it. Or it'll tell you you'll consume this much fuel, and then when you finally get to that camp, you're out of fuel and you got to get more. Which most of the camps do have people who, or mechanics who will refuel your bike and fix your bike up if it's broken. And that's another thing. If your bike is damaged while you're out in the open, you can't get it to anywhere nearby, and you have to wheel it yourself, unless you level up and do one of the skills, which is to repair bikes in the open, just self-repair. And I found that very useful because I had a lot of scrap that was not being used. So I said, okay, well, I'll use this to fix my bike up. Just that, and some of the fights with the enemies, the bigger enemies, were pretty fun. And just getting my butt handed to me by some of them was pretty fun. Fighting the hordes, I would say, was not enjoyable. It took me a good 5 tries to get through 2 of the horde fights, and what sucked was they were part of the storyline, so you couldn't continue unless you finished those 2 horde fights. So that kind of sums up the good for me. Let's go ahead and go into my final thoughts on the entire game as a whole. So we have heard some bad and we have heard some good. Will I play this game again? Absolutely. I will definitely play this game again. I found more good in it than I did bad, and I just didn't give the game a chance in the beginning like I should have. I should have given it more of a chance than I did, instead of just, up and quitting. The problem was there were so many games out at the time too, so I was playing those, and those grabbed my interest more than this one did. I still have plenty to do in the game after beating it. I still have the hordes to take care of. They show up on the map too as these big blobs. And I have collectibles to get. I have bandit camps to take out. So there's still plenty for me to do in this game, even after I've completed it. And you do get a New Game Plus in the end. I forgot to mention that earlier. And the New Game Plus is basically you just keep all your weapons and everything you've collected prior to that in your previous run. You get to carry them over to a new game. And I might even stream that on my Twitch, which you can find the link down below. But if you enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments and hit that subscribe button, and be sure to ring that bell to be notified when new videos go live. This is something, like I said, I'm just trying out. I want to see if it works. If it does, I'll continue more. I do plan to do this same setup with movies and TV shows. So there's something for everybody. I'm not just going to cover games. I'm going to cover everything that I enjoy watching or playing. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see y'all in the next episode.